Hey, I'm MIcah Cain, and just wanted to take time to share a little bit of my story with you guys. When I was in 10th grade, I had an unexpected injury come into play. I used to be really involved with football, and sports was a big part of my life. During the off season of my sophomore year, I unexpectedly had a back injury come up, and started going to different doctors to try and find the results of what was going on, and ended up being a stress fracture in my lower back. This injury was one that progressively got worse and worse, and eventually led to me in a wheelchair. I started losing strength in my legs and could not walk very well, and usually had to have assistance. I was in a wheelchair for about I think it was like 6 or 7 months, and from then I started still going to different physical therapy and different doctor visits and things like that to try to further get more answers. And ultimately, in my mind, I was hoping that I could get back to play football soon. But what eventually happened was we had a weekend retreat at my old church back in Greenwood, and I was in the middle of a worship service. I remember being in this moment of just being in worship, and I remember singing like as loud as I could sing, and then it was like the Lord just slowly like stopped me from singing, and then I just heard this like really it was kind of like a faint voice just said, "Pray for healing." Immediately I knew that it was God, but I then kind of argued back and forth, and I was like, well, I don't know how to do that. That's not something that you really do every day. And so I wasn't familiar, or had never seen anything like this happen before. And again, the Lord said, "Pray for healing." And I started, arguing again. But God, I've never done anything like this. I don't even know how to start. I don't know what words to say. And then He asked me, do you believe in me or not? And it just kind of got to a real moment, and I was like, well, yeah, of course. He said, then pray for healing. And so in the middle of this worship service, of this retreat with my youth group, I remember sitting in the middle of this room, and I just said, God, I know what I've read about you is real. I know that I believe that you've healed the sick. I believe that you've raised the dead. And I know that if I have just the slightest bit of faith, I know that you can heal me. It's in the very same instance that I said the word healed me, every bit of pain that I had in my body was completely gone. Like in that moment, I was just like trying to process everything of what had happened. And from then, I prayed that God would remove the doubt in my mind, that I would believe that I really was in that moment healed. From then, I remember just standing up and just entering into this time of worship that was probably the most incredible worship I've ever experienced in my life, and just praising God for what had just happened, and knowing that, yeah, I was just healed. Before then, being in so much pain all the time, I remember not having pain, and to be in a moment where there was no pain whatsoever was extremely incredible to experience that.
I've known Micah for a really long time. My brother and him were actually really close friends growing up, and when I was a senior in high school is the year that he got hurt in off-season football. That following year, I was a freshman in college, and I came back to Greenwood for a D-Now weekend to lead a group of 9th grade guys. And I vividly remember sitting toward the back of the room during worship, and in front of me was my brother and his group of guys, and I was just worshiping, kind of looking at them as well. And all of a sudden, I just saw Micah stand up out of nowhere and just raise his hands in worship. And I know Micah's story, and I knew that he was hurt and that he couldn't walk. But I saw the moment happen where he was lifted. Jesus healed Micah. Like he actually healed him in front of my eyes, and I didn't really understand that. I've never seen anything like that, and I didn't know that one day I would really need that moment in my life. When I was 19, so the next year in college, my mom passed away, and she was really sick with cancer, and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and I had people around me praying and praying and praying for her healing, and it didn't happen. And I still to this day do not understand why God heals some people and He doesn't heal others, but I know without doubt that God does heal, because I saw it with my own eyes. And I had to consistently go back to that moment in Greenwood when Jesus healed Micah and he stood up. And I think if I didn't have that moment to look back at it, I would have been really, really mad at God, and I would have really struggled to understand what had happened to my mom. And it still is a struggle, but it's good that I can rest on the truth that that God does heal and that He will heal.